Thanks, Ed. The time now is 7:14. He has come up through the ranks of the Jackson Police Department, serving as Assistant Chief for a number of years. Joining me now is the new Chief of the Jackson Police Department and Lanier High graduate, Chief Lee Vance. Hi, Chief.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir. I would say thanks because it's so early, but you said you're an early bird anyway.
I am. I've been up 2 or 3 hours already.
Okay, well, that's great. That's great. Now, go ahead and talk to me about your position now, being appointed as head of chief. Tell me a little bit about that and how you're enjoying it.
Well, it's somewhat of a dream come true for me. It's a job that I coveted for a number of years, and just thank God for blessing me with an opportunity to serve in this position, and also thanks to Mayor Tony Yarber for giving me an opportunity to lead the police department.
Oh, yes, sir. And you do have that partnership with him. You guys had a huge recruitment not too long ago. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we've done a couple of things in recent weeks that were designed to move the police department forward. Recruiting obviously is a huge thing for us. We just graduated a class of about 27 new officers. We're presently looking to start another recruit class before the end of the year is our goal.
Is that right?
Yes.
With about the same number?
Well, we're actually hoping for around 40.
Okay.
But we're looking for quality individuals. Of course, the number of police officers that we have is important, but the most important thing is having quality individuals who are willing to serve the citizens of this city and help move the police department forward.
I know one of the things you wanted to focus on was having a police officer almost on every corner, basically. With that being said, is that being in motion already? Are you guys already taking those steps?
Well, it's an age-old concept. When you have visibility in the neighborhoods by law enforcement, you lessen the opportunities for potential criminal events. It's age-old. So what we want to do is be visible in the communities. From talking to the public, interacting with the public down through the years, one of the biggest complaints they would have is that we don't see the police enough. And actually, visibility in the neighborhood goes along with the community-oriented policing concept that we're going to operate with. So it all comes together. It makes citizens feel safe. It makes the criminals weary when they see police officers. So the more we have, the more visibility we have, the better off we're all going to be.
Yes, sir. Not to be contradictory, but the Institute of Government at Jackson State just did a recent poll, and one of the things they focused on was the community and the people having a certain trust for law enforcement, and a high percentage actually is fearful of you all. And I know Ferguson and Mike Brown, that whole case might have something to do with the mindset, but how do you feel about that there's the public out there who actually doesn't have the faith in you guys and actually think you're the bad guys?
Well, that's something that, I'll make 2 points. The first part is that there are a number of people out there in the community that are criminals, and they should fear us. But we are here to serve the law-abiding citizens first and foremost. And the community-oriented policing concept basically deals with that notion. You forge relationships, lay groundwork, and have a regular interaction with the public, then those type of sentiments are going to be lessened. And that's what we're looking for. And I think we're a long way down the road towards that end. We have a great relationship with the majority of the general public. They provide us with information, which is the lifeblood of any police department if you're intending on solving crimes. We have regular interactions such as our COPS meetings, where in each precinct, at least once a month, there's an open meeting where citizens are welcomed or encouraged to attend, where they bring ideas, where they bring problems. And during that meeting, there's a plan of action that's going to address whatever issues that the citizens want to bring. So I think that here in Jackson, our relationship is very, very good with the public, but we're even working to make it better.
Right. And with most of these things going on nationally, as an officer, do you feel like the limit sometimes is overstepped?
As far as that?
For instance, there was a story we covered one day, and there was a family in the car. They didn't want to get out of the car because they feared for their life. So police officer took action and busted the window, dragged the man out, tased him, did a lot of things. And of course, this was on video.
I see.
So it caused a big uproar. And that's why I'm saying there's people who are kind of being fearful of you all. So that's why I'm asking, is there a limit, or do you feel like most of the actions being taken are protocol?
Well, the first thing we can't do is link what happens in another part of the United States with what we're trying to do here. Municipalities have their own police departments. They're governed by a different set of policies and procedures. Some of the laws in the state of Mississippi are going to be different than the laws other places. So I think that it's not constructive to link what we do here with any place else. Police officers are held to the same level of accountability as anybody else in the city of Jackson. We've seen where officers have gotten themselves in trouble and ended up in jail. We've had to dismiss officers that go outside the policies of this police department. But again, you can't link what we do here with other places. It's not constructive. We're working very hard each and every day. I don't think that there's that type of issue as far as an overall fear of the police department here, because it's not helpful. If officers, 99.9% of the police officers that we have here are hard-working individuals. They're riding these streets at night, watching out for you and your property while you're asleep. And, you know, it's a thankless, very, very dangerous job, but they step up and do it. And I think the public has embraced the concept that we're using here. And I think that we're doing well as far as community relations.
Oh yes, oh yes. And I can definitely agree with that, because we're not making any headlines here. I just kind of wanted to see what you thought, being an officer yourself. But is there any initiatives
what
you're
I
taking?
can say about that, you have to lay groundwork for relationships.
Yes, sir.
If you don't have any interaction with the public, if you've got incident after incident where there appears to be, or actually is, misconduct on the part of the police department, you're not going to have the type of relationship that you need to have to overcome a crisis like what they have in Missouri. There are other things that have attributed to that situation. For instance, I understand that the population of that town is about 75% black, and they only have 4 African Americans or minorities on the police department. That's a formula for disaster right there. So there are some underlying things that have probably come to light since this incident, but if you step back and you looked at it, you probably say that's a disaster just looking for a place to happen.
Oh yes, sir. Now, is there any initiatives that you have coming up, or things that are actually in the works to make our community a little safer?
Well, we're starting with the visibility that we talked about before. What we want to do is stop being as defensive as we used to be and go more on the offense as it relates to certain criminals in this city that we know constantly create havoc. We know who they are. We develop plans to actually go after them and try to keep them in jail, because you know, the vast majority of the public wants the same thing that we want. They want a peaceful community that they can work, live, and thrive in for themselves and their families. We want the same thing. There are individuals out in our community that cause a lot of problems as far as criminal activity, and we want to deal with them accordingly. The second thing is that when you actually look at it, not only here, but other places in the United States, one of the primary causes of criminal activity is the drug industry, all right? Illegal drug industries. I'm speaking of crack cocaine, I'm speaking of crystal meth. These type drugs are so devastating because they will take a person's value system away from them. They can take a completely a completely honest person and turn them into a criminal. So what we want to do is continue to attack the drug dealers. We are not going to tolerate people standing on street corners in the city of Jackson and selling drugs. These folks are creating a lot of havoc in these neighborhoods. They want to sell drugs, ride up and down the street, firing weapons. it's not acceptable.
No, it's
You know,
not.
just last week, we had an incident, 2 incidents where people were robbed in broad daylight and shot. We're just not going to continue to put up with that. So we're going to come after those people, we're going to identify you, and we're going to lock you up.
Oh, yes, as you should. And, you know, criminals, they need to be in their place. So I totally agree with that. But I want to thank you for coming by this
Okay,
morning. It
all
was
right.
great. I definitely appreciate it. I feel safe. So
You should.
that's a good, yes, I definitely feel safe. But when we return here on Metro Morning Live, we're going to find out how Jackson State is making improvements in the community. That's next. So make sure you stay with us.